wow is all I can say about the way that 100 final on the men's side ended. Kartik Krishna are here. Congratulations to the Trent Rockets on winning the women's final. That was pretty routine, ho-hum affair against Sunrisers Leeds. The twin bill of 100 finals at Lord's today. The men's final was unbelievable. Twists and turns, a lot of ups and downs, and I think there were decisive moments, two really decisive moments in this match. And I want to highlight Tim Seifert and Noor Ahmad because I think they were the key. They had those key moments, but I also want to highlight them because they both play in Major League Cricket. So this is a great statement for Major League Cricket. Tim Seifert has been one of the best cricketers this year at this limited overs format. A great World Cup for New Zealand, pairing with Finn Allen in that opening pairing. Ravindra coming in right behind them. New Zealand get all the way to the final where they lose to India. A really good IPL campaign. Very, very strong in MLC, and then now in the 100, making all the difference with that incredible match he played today. And then Noor Ahmad, the young Afghani spinner, who I think really has used his time in Major League Cricket with the Texas Super Kings. He plays for the Chennai Super Kings in the IPL. Has really used the conditions of the U.S., of the American summer, these last two summers to improve his bowling at critical moments. And he was Johnny on the spot today. So Trent Rockets were going really well in the power play. They not only had Manchester Super Kings, Super Giants, not gotten a wicket, but they were really kind of struggling in terms of control, and I think the length of the having trouble on this wicket, which of course had been impacted by the women playing first. The length of the deliveries were a problem. Noor Ahmad comes in and really changes that. Gets a couple of wickets, slows down the chase. Right, really kind of those middle overs are critical. Well, we don't call them overs in this competition, but you know what I'm saying. Those middle balls are really critical in this competition or in any limited overs format between the power play and the death overs. So what do they call these? Accelerate or something? The IPL has some term for it, but I don't know what the IPL market generated term is for it. But I thought Noor Ahmad, who's a bowler I've watched a lot of, and really have a high hopes for him, not just in franchise cricket where he's elevating, but for Afghanistan, I think fantastic. Now let's talk about Tim Seifert, who we talked about so much, and my colleague Jonathan Starling talked about so much during the Major League Cricket season. I talked about constantly during the ICC T20 World Cup, which again, he and Finn Allen and Ravindra to a lesser extent fired, and Henry. I mean, there's plenty of great New Zealanders, but I think Seifert in particular got New Zealand to that final where they lost to India, but got them all the way to the final and was such an impactful player in IPL, and obviously in terms of the Major League Cricket season. 72 from 38, another half century. He's had 5 half centuries in this tournament alone. He is the player of the competition. He was going well, and there was a moment where his teammate, New Zealand teammate, Finn Allen, looked like he had caught and had brought and had tossed it to Harrison without touching the rope. Well, it turned out he touched the rope. And that was a decisive moment, because if they had gotten Seifert's wicket at that point, I think maybe the batters go quickly. Klaassen would have been next. Maybe they begin to go quickly. Although when you look at who they have in reserve with Manchester Super Giants, they certainly have a roster. But we saw even when Seifert, for all his brilliance, he chased a ball from Amir that he should not have chased. That might have been given wide, honestly, had he not chased it. When they only needed a run a ball, and he chased it, made contact, the ultra edge confirmed that, called out, and that is why it became so dramatic in the last, again, I want to say last few overs, but the last 20 balls or whatever. But ultimately, you see just the quality of these two guys, and I want to highlight the MLC aspect of this is that what happened with MLC was, and of course Liam Dawson won it with that 6. I should mention that. MLC fits an important part of the calendar, and I noticed in the case of these two cricketers, Ravindra, who's a guy I've mentioned, I guess more than I should in this, but of course was huge in the final for MLC. Gets on a plane and is playing in the 100 2 days later, and MLC started right after he had been the star of the second test for New Zealand against England. These guys playing so much cricket, and even in what might be natural breaks, playing so much cricket, competitive cricket, flying around the world, keeps them sharp. So the two stars today, the two guys who led Manchester, the Super Giants, had just played here in the U.S., had just played in Major League Cricket, had played IPL before that, played in the T20 World Cup, so you're playing year-round. And this is something that sometimes people who follow American sport don't get about why the U.S. struggles in the sport I primarily am associated with, which is football, or soccer as we call them in the U.S. Because guys play year-round, they stay in shape, they stay sharp, they stay fit. In other parts of the world, in the U.S., there are these long off seasons. And so in terms of T20 cricket and franchise cricket, you see the value of MLC, not just for growing the game in North America, not just for giving our American cricketers and our U.S. national team players a high-level competition to feature in, but now even for the highest level cricketers who are not Indian, because India has this bizarre rule, you know, they're superior, right? So their guys can only play in the IPL, right? Because they're the best, right? That's their attitude. You know, like I've said before, that attitude eventually got England in football. Our guys should all. They didn't have the written rule the way the BCCI has it, but they had an informal rule. Yeah, if you're not playing in the Premier League, we're not going to pick you. Well, now they know better. I think India eventually will learn. The irony being, so many of the IPL investors have invested in MLC, have invested in the 100, have invested in the Caribbean Premier League, have invested in South Africa, but yet their players can't go. But so for all the other international stars, whatever nationality they are, as long as they're not Indian, or either are Indians, but they're not active with the national team, right? Once you retire from the national team, you're freed from those constraints. This proves to be such an important competition to keeping them sharp and keeping them ready for what comes next. And you saw that today with Manchester Super Giants. So congratulations to them, congratulations to Seifert, and congratulations to Nur Ahmed and the whole group. You know, they've been to a couple finals and lost. So this was great to see them get over the hump. And I love the 100, and we'll do something maybe deeper on the women's side of the 100 soon. And we're also going to have a little bit of a commentary on the ICC in the next week or two. Not going to be so great, my views on what's happened with the ICC. But we will talk about that when we talk about it.